It's pretty safe to say that the left basically assumes that Donald Trump is an utter racist, which is pretty much shown by the new, well, 2 days old article by Huffington Post. Here are 15 examples of Donald Trump being racist. Personally, I still didn't find any solid proof that Donald Trump is a racist, but I assume that this is the best that they put together to prove that he's a racist. So let's go through each of the points they present and see if we find any legitimacy in them. Their first point says that some of his top advisors and cabinet picks have histories of prejudice. Their first reference is to, of course, Trump's chief strategist, Steve Bannon, who has been dubbed the king of alt-right, or at least one of the leading figures of the alt-right, and therefore tying him with the racist anti-Semites. While there is no doubt that Steve Bannon and Breitbart itself try to capitalize on the alt-right movement, the fact that he employed and still does employ number of Jews and people of numerous ethnic origins really destroys the narrative of him being an actual white supremacist. Then it was Trump's Homeland Security pick, who dislikes Islam, but Islam is not a race, so that doesn't qualify. Then it was Trump's Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who got accused, keyword being accused, of saying some bigoted things and wanting to join the Ku Klux Klan. Well, none of this is a confirmed fact. What is confirmed is that Jeff Sessions actually once advocated for a death penalty of a prominent KKK member's son who brutally murdered a young black man only for being black. So if that doesn't destroy the narrative, I don't know what will. And finally was Trump's Secretary of Treasury pick, Steve Mnuchin, who was also accused, keyword being accused, of profiting from racial discrimination. We'll see where this goes, but again, it's not a solid piece of evidence. Point 2. Trump denied responsibility for racist incidents that followed his election. Honestly, I don't know what's racist about denying the fact that you're a racist, but Trump very firmly denounced these hate crimes, and you say in your article that he said that he was saddened to hear it. Doesn't count, moving on. Third example, he attacked Muslim Gold Star parents. He didn't attack them, and Islam is not a race. Moving on. Fourth example, he claimed the judge was biased because he's a Mexican. Mexican isn't a race, it is a nationality, and if his judge was a Mexican and Trump's foreign policy is not very favorable for Mexico, then the judge would probably have some biases. Not racist, moving on. Fifth example, the Justice Department sued his company twice for not renting to black people. Keyword sued, not convicted. Sixth example, in fact, discrimination against black people has been a pattern throughout Trump's career. Here they back it up with some anecdotal stories from numerous of his black employees that he was apparently somehow discriminatory and racist. But if they can use anecdotal evidence, so can I. Because I know a person who cooked for Trump for 14 years, and he says Trump was a great guy even though he has no obligation to do so. But that's all speculation. Let's see if Trump is really afraid of black people. Yup, a total racist. Certainly hates black civil rights leaders and doesn't have any black friends or cabinet appointees. Seventh example, he refused to condemn the white supremacists who advocated for him. What Trump said was that he didn't know David Duke or the white supremacists that he led or that endorsed him. But I'm not going to deny that Trump was a low information candidate, so I'm not surprised that he didn't know what to say when they ambushed him with that question. Also, a little side note here. This is David Duke. Just look at this dork. Look at that bold haircut. He truly is a specimen of the supreme white race. I mean, god damn it. Eighth example, he questioned whether President Obama was born in the United States. Even though the birthism thing was pretty stupid, this again falls into the category of any criticism of Obama is inherently racist because he's a black president. Just no comment. Let's go to the other example. Example number 9. He treats racial groups as monoliths. I just love when leftists who play identity politics condemn the right when they use identity politics. All that Trump is doing wrong, they say, is that he says the every time he speaks about a minority. For example, the blacks, the Latinos, etc. Well, I'm glad the Social Justice Brigade is here to tell us how to be politically and verbally correct. Example number 10, he trashed Native Americans too. Again, all they cite as an example is that he said that Native American casinos are filled with mafia and that members of the Pequot tribe didn't look like Indians to him. No actual racism. Example number 11, he encouraged the mob anger that resulted in the wrongful imprisonment of the Central Park Five. Yes, this is another mistake of Trump's, but the only reason they claim here that it's racist is because the 5 teenagers were, quote, of color. Trump seemed to make no reference to their race, and so this doesn't qualify either. Sorry. Example number 12, he condoned the beating of a Black Lives Matter protester. Black Lives Matter is a movement, it's not a race. Trump made another publicity-seeking statement, but didn't make any reference to the man's race. That does not qualify. Example 13. He called supporters who beat up a homeless Latino man passionate. He also called it a shame, and yes, his initial response was quite weak, but later on he stated that the attacks were terrible. But again, no definitive proof was provided for the claim that Trump believes that another race is inferior. Example number 14, he stereotyped Jews and shared an anti-Semitic image created by white supremacists. Here they just endlessly speculate whether he meant to be anti-Semitic or not, which no human being can tell unless they can read minds. Which, if they could, Hillary would have won the election. They even mention how part of Trump's family is actually Jewish. In fact, all his grandchildren are Jewish, or at least half Jewish, which beautifully destroys their narrative, but also the narrative of the white nationalists, who, if they weren't hypocrites, would denounce him for race mixing or whatever. Dorks. And finally, example number 15, he treats African American supporters as tokens to dispel the idea that he's a racist. Well, duh, of course he's going to do that if you keep calling him racist. I mean, it's the exactly same reason why the white supremacists support him, because they find out from the media that he's a white supremacist without even knowing that his family actually engages in race mixing. And so those are the 15 best arguments that the left could come up with to support the notion that Trump is a racist. You can think of Trump whatever you want. There's a lot of reasons not to like him, even though I personally supported him over Hillary throughout the election. But I think you'll find it hard to argue that Trump is genuinely a racist. And by a racist, I mean a person who thinks that one race is superior to another. Anyway, Huffington Post once again failed to provide anything worthy of thorough intellectual analysis, so that's why they're stuck being refuted by a small channel of 7 subscribers.
Drop it.